Welcome to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coach Show. With me now, I have head indoor track and field coach Dan Meyers. Coach, thanks for being here.
Jagger, thanks for having me.
So, Coach, this past weekend ran at the Muskie meet number 3. Is your second time at Muskingum? Just your thoughts on that.
So this meet was a good bit bigger. We were there a little bit longer than we were the last time with more teams, but it was phenomenal competition. For a meet, that wasn't really truthfully that far away from us, about 2.5 hours. So we got out of it what we needed. We have a lot of work to do, and we're battling through some key injuries right now that hopefully we can get back before indoor ends. And, some are looking maybe towards outdoor, but, we had a good day and, a lot of personal bests, but we have a long way to go. But it was a good team day.
You speak of having a good day. Janae Scott and Hannah Hill moved into the top 5 all-time in a couple events. Also, good competition. Natalie Barr was in North Carolina this past weekend, raced against some Division I competition like East Carolina, Wake Forest, East Tennessee State, and others. Just your thoughts on her performance there as well.
I was lucky enough that, her first race went off. So I got to watch the live video of that, and that meet does a phenomenal job just from like a viewership standpoint. Mm-hmm. So I was able to watch her 800 in the morning, and she ran the 800 about 10:30 in the morning and came back around 3:30 and ran the mile. So she got a pretty good break, but overall still a double, still 2 hard races, and still again on a 200-meter flat track. She ran about 2:22, which converts to about her lifetime PR in the 800. So obviously a huge indoor PR. So moving outdoors, she's already, well ahead of where she's ever been in that race. She just ran so strong. Looking at the times in her heat, she knew that she could get out front. And in the mile, she got boxed in a little bit, but nothing like too crazy that's just like outside of the realm of just indoor track in general. But the times of where she's at right now, she's ranked second in the mile in the conference and first in the 8. And there'll be a lot of things shift. A lot of girls still have to race, and a lot of girls, still haven't put out their best performances. But if she could stay in this top 4, top 5 realm before we get to, MECs and have a striking distance at all conference in some events, that would be huge. And then she's hasn't raced the 3K. She's dropped a little bit in that since December, and she's going to be running that this weekend. So just a phenomenal effort by her, and just to show like where she's been like historically, like, obviously in indoor we run a full mile, and it's a little bit longer than a 1600 in high school. And her high school, if you convert her high school 1600 to a college mile, it would have been about 5:33. And the fact that she's already went 5:17 in January, I can't be upset of where that's at. And it obviously converts down lower on the honor roll. So just very happy with her performances. And then moving over to some of the big performances we had at Muskingum, Janae Scott, she's going to be huge for us this year, and she's just scratching the surface indoors. I think when she gets a disc or a hammer, even a jab in her hand, come outdoor, she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And that was a 3rd all-time mark in school history in the shot put. And to get the event win, that was huge. And she got the event win over, one of the best throwing girls in our conference. So, that was huge for a momentum push. And we're hoping that she can fight for all conference honors coming here in a few weeks. And Hannah Hill, she's just scratching the surface as well. Last year, she was more of a short sprinter that kind of did some long sprints. This year, coming off cross country, we put her in a mid-distance role, and she just looks so strong moving that route. And I'm just really excited to see what she does. She's opening up in the 800 this weekend at Ashland. She's never ran it. And those mid-distance girls, they've been running really well for us. Savannah Cunningham as well. So, those girls are a big reason that, there's going to be a lot of other fast recruits joining them next year. So, but they're just scratching the surface.
And if anybody watched the women's soccer team this year, you know how fast Hannah Hill is and how good her stamina is. We're at the midway mark of the season. I know you said you battled some injuries, but you've had, every meet besides this past weekend, you've had 20-plus personal bests. What are your thoughts just now that we're midway through?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to my job of just, kind of putting us in the right spots. And, obviously recruiting's going really well going into next year. We just have a lot of spots to fill. I feel like the culture is in a good spot, and I feel like we have a lot of good people on the team. But, I'm the first one to tell them that, I need to get more talent. And but at the end of the day, the people that we're putting out there are absolutely busting their tails, and for them to continue meet after meet to find especially people that do multiple events, they might have not good first event, second event, come back in PR. So there's a lot of good things to look at. And I think that, that's keeping the motivation for the full team in a good spot. So, Aaron Kuffner just scratching the surface in the 60 hurdles. He's being more consistent. We get him in a good race. And, I think that he can ride some momentum into the outdoor season. So, really excited at, just the team culture and the team camaraderie and all that different stuff. We've just got to fill in some more depths and have some more depth going into next year.
And you speak on that. And then this coming weekend, you're at Ashland. How do you just carry that success over?
I think a lot of it is just, preparing them for in a different environment. So Ashland is a 300-meter track. It's still like on year 3 of the facility. But it's not going to be as big of a meet as like a Youngstown or something like that. But at the end of the day, I think just like, staying overnight, just preparing for a longer trip. I think we're taking vans this weekend. So, just preparing for the little things.
Yep.
And I always tell the team, you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. And
Exactly.
I think that just at the end of the day that we just got to go out there and compete. And like at the end, now that we know that there's a lot of spots that we need to fill depth wise, it's honestly, even though it's such a huge team sport, for them to focus and go out there and compete as an individual and know if what they do kind of can propel us to the next level. I think that just takes a lot of pressure off.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Coach. And I just want to wish you luck this weekend, and thanks for coming on today.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coach Show. With me now, I have head men's wrestling coach, Dylan Cottrell. Coach, thanks for being here.
Yep, excited to be back, talk some wrestling.
I'm sure you are this week. MEC champions, how does it feel? What was it like?
It was good just in the sense of, finally getting it done. There's not many kids that on the team, maybe 2 or 3, who I'm trying to think, that have been here for the full 4 years to kind of see what we started at and how little it was, right? And again, right, this is 4th year of the program, really technically the 3rd that we've been competing at the high level, because that COVID year was kind of crazy. We started in the middle of it, which was nuts at the first place. Let alone starting a whole new program is tough, of when we did it. So it's cool, especially for me and those couple guys, and even the other ones that have been here 3 years, right? To see how far we've came, kind of came from, and then now getting there, and then winning in the fashion that we did, right? We did a lot of things right this Saturday. We talked a lot about getting bonus points and early in matches and knowing how much that would affect at the end. We didn't particularly wrestle great in the finals. I think that is a lot to do with nerves and just kind of how we performed at that tournament before. It feels just like a monkey on our back for that tournament because we've lost it, even though we've wrestled so well up into the finals the last couple years. So, early, I think we had maybe 3 or 4 guys, they would have got major decisions or tech falls in their match early and ended up getting a pin with less than 30 seconds to go in matches, right? Getting that extra bonus point, which was huge. There for a minute, I think we went maybe on a 8 or 9 match win streak of pins, which was pretty crazy at the start. And so we really got it rolling. I think the guys, responded well to the challenge I put out there for them. And just happy in general, right, to go get the win. Again, beating a team that, they were number 1 in the country. We beat them, knocked them down to number 3, right? Now we beat them again in a different format. They're one of our biggest rivals across the whole, not just our program, right, across our whole athletic department, right? So always nice to go do that, get a championship, first one in school history, and keep rolling. For our guys, again, we talked about it, though, as much as we wanted this and we love it and it's great, right? It's just another, next thing up pretty much for us, right? It's super important, but it's not the tell-all of what our season is. And we wanted to get that across to our guys. One, for me, so they hopefully wouldn't be as nervous, right? Especially as nervous as I was, at least. And then 2, right, that, they need to remember what the end goal of the season is, right? And unfortunately, this is amazing, but unfortunately, it's not to win a conference championship, right? It's to make the national tournament and be a national champ, All-American, right? So, our guys, I think our guys did a good job of realizing that and just going out there and having fun and scoring points.
And I think a lot of coaches would be okay with the end goal is a conference championship. And now you're in the fourth year of the program, and we're talking that yes, this is very great, but it's not the end goal as a team, as individuals. How have you been able to do it in just 4 years? And now these are expectations that you've been able to build that short of time.
Well, I mean, you gotta. We've had a lot of help from other people, right? Obviously, in the athletic department, our athletic director, Jesse Skiles, is amazing, right? He is a legend as a coach, and he continues to be a legend as an athletic director on what he's doing and providing for us, right? So first and foremost, Coach Skiles has been the big one of getting different things brought in for us coaches to be able to be successful, right? You got to have the money to get scholarships, right? Our guys and whoever it is, we can practice in the outside, right? And do whatever if we have the talent, right? So being able to have that money to go get the talent is the first big one. Yep. On top of that, we don't have to do that, right? We have amazing facilities, right? Yep. So there's great things out there to put a model to bring guys in. And then I think for me, being a younger coach, I'm able to, I guess, understand a little bit more of these recruits coming in, especially these transfers, right? Transfer portal is where I've cleaned up at, right? These are older guys, 23, 24, right? I'm still not that old of a guy, right? At 29. So, 6-7 years ago compared to them, I was doing the same thing they were. I was training the same way, right? I was doing all this. So I can kind of relate. And I also transferred, right? So I can relate to them on what it's like to go out there and how vulnerable you have to feel to put yourself in the position to change everything in your life. I think recruiting is probably my best asset as a coach, right? I think I'm a good wrestling coach with the sport and everything too, but I think I'm a better recruiter. Mm-hmm. And so that's been huge, right? You got to bring the talent in, and then once you have it in, right, you got to start developing. So I think that's been massive. But yeah, for us, it's always going to be NCAAs, right? That's the end goal. Again, I can't reiterate how awesome it is and how good I felt and our guys felt all weekend about winning conference. But this is again, I don't want to say this in any slight, right? It's great if a coach just wants to win conference and that's where it's at. That was never my goal when I got hired here, right? It was never something I really thought about at all. Like, okay, I want to go and I want to win that conference title, right? Obviously, it's something on there, right? But I want this program to be multiple-time national champs, right? I want to be someone when they have to wrestle us, right? That's scary to look across and what they see on the chest, right? I want to be a dominant program, and I think it kind of goes with it too, right? And being able to talk to these recruits about the vision that we have as a program. Yeah. And
then that vision's definitely, it's coming in now. And funny that you said, where you're younger, you're able to relate to these guys, because it goes on to my next question. Do you think that your wrestling days, as you're from West Virginia, you wrestled at the Division I level. Do you think that's helped you been able to have an eye for the talent that you want to bring into your program, and for also just the guys that you want your program?
Yeah, I mean, those are, for me, very separate in thinking about those, right? Culture and talent. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that are great culture guys and not great talent guys, and that's okay, right? We can develop those guys. And there's a lot of guys that are amazing talent guys, right? And you might take a risk a little bit on the culture you bring in. So you always have to walk that fine line on not just having a program that is wishy-washy for only talent, because we don't want that, right? But I think we have an amazing group of people. Every time I talk to people on campus, we do stuff outside of campus, right? They come back and tell me how amazing my guys act and how polite they were. And that's awesome as a coach to know that I can trust those guys to go out there, represent the university at a high level, represent me at a high level, and them as well. So that feels really good. But yeah, again, back to the talent thing, right? You have to make sure that you're bringing that in and going from there. But we want guys to come in here and whatever talent level, whoever they came in as a person, we want them to leave as a much better wrestler and obviously a much better human being when they get out of this program.
And now you've won the conference championship, but is it business as usual now? I mean, we're just on to the next thing, on to the next goal.
So yeah, that's a good question, because not really. It changes a lot, right? Our whole training changes again, right? That's the end of a training cycle for us, and now we go into being a lot more, direct about what we do from here on out. Selective would probably be the better word. Yeah. So some of our starters will wrestle sometimes in the rest of the season. Sometimes they won't, right? We have some regional stuff coming up where If I think it's going to hurt our guys, they probably won't wrestle. And
Fair enough.
I don't like being that guy. I really don't. But at the end of the day, that's not who I would have been as an athlete. Let's say that, right? And I know some of my athletes won't like it. They'll be wanting to wrestle, right? But I have to, again, do my job as a coach and put them in the best position to make the NCAA tournament. There's some guys, right, who they'd have some close matches. We could win or lose, right? And it destroys our seeding, right? And so wrestling's kind of I guess like political and a little bit of a sport in that because the coaches are the ones who do the seedings. So I know how they're going to vote on certain losses. So I got to make sure that I'm protecting my guys, even if they want to go and wrestle every single match. So yeah, this was our month, right, of like wrestling our starters everywhere, all the time, no matter what, right? And it was great, right? We won, I think, 7 straight duels, right? And then, won the conference championship. So great month. What we wanted to do, now we dial it back, right? Training doesn't dial back, right? This is a time to ramp up. Like our training is going to be really tough here over the next 2 or 3 weeks, right? But who I wrestle, when I wrestle them, going to be a process of selection from me. And that selection is based off of one thing, and that is what can we do to put our guys in the best position at the regional tournament to make the NCAA tournament?
You talk about being selective for your guys because you want to keep them healthy and you want to get them ready for, later in the year. What are the end goals now for you as a team and then for the individuals?
Well, from here on out, really, the end goal, like you said, is injury-free always, right? And then put as many people into the NCAA tournament to give them a chance to be an All-American.
Yep.
How do we do that, right? It becomes a lot more individualistic than team. We have some duels coming up. Actually, we have a lot of duels coming up this month, right? Again, this is probably a different realm for a lot of coaches that are listening to this. I don't care if we lose the next 6 duels, right? And we might, because I'm going to be wrestling non-starters in a lot of those duels, right? But again, that's the part of it that kind of sucks with the duels meaning nothing, is I can do that and not hurt us individually. But on the win-loss, it looks bad, right? But I really don't think anyone is going to care too much about that, especially after this weekend, right? So, again, as much as that sucks, and maybe we take a couple of losses as a team, hopefully we don't. Hopefully our non-starters really step up, right? In the matches, that would be great, right? And then you don't even have to have that conversation. And I feel confident in them. So it's not like we're just, taking our team out there and be like, we're going to lose some, right? And do this, right? We're going to win for sure, right? That's always the goal. We're just going to have other guys step up in the situations where I don't feel comfortable putting the regional seed on the line. So, with that being said, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be awesome for some of our non-starters to get a chance to go wrestle really good guys. We got some awesome matches coming up. We wrestle WVU. We wrestle a bunch of Region 4 guys this weekend, right? We still got a big regional duel with Ashland and Grand Valley, who, are both 2 really solid teams. Ashland just won their conference this weekend, like we did. So, going to be a good month of February with a lot of good wrestling. And again, like I said multiple times here, it's just going to be a lot more selective of who we wrestle and when we wrestle.
Well, Coach, huge congratulations this weekend on the conference championship. And I really can't iterate how big that is for the school and just for the program in total. But congratulations, and thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coaches Show. With me now, I have head women's basketball coach Emily Stoller. Coach, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
So, Coach, first thing, last week, you picked up your second and third straight road victory. You started out at West Virginia State with a 98-92 victory. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, tough matchup for us. Same style of play, same system. We owed them one. They got us on our home floor.
Yep.
Our girls were ready to play that game. They had high intensity and urgency to win it, and I'm proud of them for pulling out the win. It's a hard place to play.
And you speak about that. I think it was the word I used for the recap was resilient. You had the 11-point lead late in the game. They come back, tie it, but then you finish the game out strong. What does that say for your team? Because early in the year, not that they wouldn't have done that, but it might have been a little bit harder. But you're able to get, a big drive by Shallon Miles. She gets the free throws, and Haya knocks down a big 3 there to kind of pull the game away. How can you speak on just the resiliency of this team right now?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of our strongest points that we were focused on, that we've really showed a lot of growth in since the beginning of the season. When adversity hits, you can either lay down and lose the game from it, or you can step up and bond together as a team and come out with a victory at the end. And I think that, a couple of our early losses, we faced adversity, and we really didn't know how to mesh together and play together as a team through those moments, and we really have gotten stronger on that. So I'm very proud of them for that. We knew State was going to go on a run there in the game, and it was one of our our conversations late in the third. But I'm definitely proud of them for sticking together through the adversity that they showed us there.
And they carried that over to Concord on Saturday. It was a 2-point game at halftime. You're able to pull away in the fourth quarter and not allow Concord to really make any type of run to make it close like State did. Just your thoughts on that game.
Yeah, I'm not too happy with how we played there, but it's definitely a tough gym and a tough atmosphere to play. And I think just about every team that goes there in the conference struggles a little bit with their home court advantage. But Concord's tough. They stirred some stuff up in the conference this year, so they're definitely a tough opponent. But glad to come away with that win. I think we showed some toughness there at the end of that game as well. So I'm proud of them for that.
And then coming into this week, you have a chance to avenge 2 earlier season losses because you fell on the road to Frostburg early in the year, lost at home to Fairmont. First, Frostburg State. You're facing Emily Weekly, leads the country in scoring. Some of these players, you don't really stop them, but you can slow them down. What are your thoughts on coming into this game, and how can you control the pace of the game this time?
Right. So I think we're definitely a better team right now than we were when we saw them early on in the season. But like I said before, she's one of those players that she's going to go out there and get hers. It's just about trying to contain her the most that we can. But I think our girls are ready to play that game. It'll be on our home court, and we haven't been home in a while. I think it's been about 4 games, three game stretch. We were on the road, so our girls are definitely excited to play.
And Frostburg coming off, they hit a skid there for a minute, and then this past weekend they turned around and beat Fairmont State by 27. And Fairmont State, we don't talk usually about the Saturday games, but just a minute on them. You faced them on Saturday, a team who also came in here and got a win on you guys. You faced Alyssa D'Angelo, who's now 4th in the country. Hopefully those struggles kind of continue, but how can you also slow down someone like her and then because they have some weapons around her. It's not like it's just the Alyssa D'Angelo show. How can you slow down them and also control the pace in that game?
Right. One thing I'll say about Fairmont is they're a really, really talented, really tough team, and a lot of it has to do with their team chemistry.
Yeah.
Our girls are absolutely fired up and ready to go there and play that game on Saturday. But it'll definitely be a tough matchup for us. I mean, right now we're fighting for the top spots, top seeds of the conference right now. So, it can go either way, whoever brings it that day and whoever doesn't. So
yeah, and you speak on that because you're in sole position of 3rd place right now. Wheeling and Fairmont tied for 1st. So these games have some big implications for later in the year. But Coach, congratulations, 8 wins in a row now. You've really hit your stride, and just good luck this weekend. And appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having me today.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coaches Show. With me now, I have head men's basketball coach Bob Bolen. Coach, thanks for being here.
Jagger, thank you for having me.
So, Coach, looking back at last week, you capped off the 3-game road trip. First was West Virginia State. What are your thoughts with that game?
Yeah, West Virginia State came out on fire.
Yep.
They were making threes from everywhere, averaging 7 threes a game, and they hit 18.
Mm-hmm.
And some were contested, some weren't. But I just thought that State probably played their best game of the year, and we were the victim in that one.
And that seems to be kind of the mantra here lately. Teams are really hitting their stride, hitting their shots when Glenville comes to town. And then you moved on to Saturday, Concord, another game. They came out hot, shooting the ball well. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of us, just a really slow start. We're going to have to make some adjustments at the beginning of the game and get some guys in there trying to play defense, trying to guard the ball. And we're having trouble guarding the ball, and then the help comes, and then they're getting good looks at threes, and teams are knocking them down.
Yeah, and looking forward to this coming week, first with Frostburg State. We talked earlier in the year, the defense struggled early on, then you found your groove. Here lately, it seems like it's been struggling again. How do you get your guys back into how they were just about 2 weeks ago, probably defensively?
Yeah, we just have to have 2 good practices going into Frostburg. Concentrate on our defensive fundamentals and our principles, and, we can get back to the way we were playing a couple weeks ago.
Has playing on the road, this is a tough conference no matter if you're home or away. Has that just been more difficult on the road? I know it's not easy for anybody. You're not playing in your own gym. You don't practice there. Has that just been a struggle for your guys, do you think? Or, what's happening there?
Well, I think here lately, and then when you look at it, we were on the road against the number 1 team in the conference, the number 3 team in the conference, and Concord's definitely in the top half of the conference. And so we played 3 really good teams on the road, and we didn't play well and they did play well, so that's going to be the result you get.
Yeah, I mean, you hit that 3-game road skid, but you also hit a 3-game road skid where you were playing some of the top teams in the conference. Now you'll be able to, meet them at home later in the year, but that, that comes much later. But Coach, good luck this week, and we appreciate you coming on today.
Jagger, thank you for having me.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pioneer Coaches Show. With me now, I have head acrobatics and tumbling coach Taylor Broadwater. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, Coach, looking back last year, your first full year at Glenville as the head coach, you went 5-4. You had a team qualify for the Nationals. You went to the NBC tournament for the first time in 2021, since 2021. Just, how did that, as overall as a coach, how did you feel of how that season went?
I feel like last year we had a good start. They were coming off of a rough season, so last season was good to kind of bring us back into what I know Glenville to be. Definitely a competitive team, and they had a lot of drive last year to show everyone what we were capable of, and I feel like we made a mark last year and have a lot to prove as well this season, so I'm excited.
And looking into this season, how do you feel the off season went? I know you've dealt with some injuries. Just how did that? How's that went? Reforming the roster, and then just overall, how's it going?
So off season was a little rough for us this year. I can't lie about that. We had several injuries that obviously you never anticipate for and you don't wish for. But the team really rallied together, and I've had some key players really step up for us and make a mark on different events that they've never been a part of. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out this year, but we kind of pulled it together in a short amount of time. We had some girls actually leave the team as well, so made adjustments on, short notice here and there. So we've have a lot to prove this year, but the girls have really stepped up to the plate and bonded together and rallied back. So I'm excited.
And you had the mock meet on Sunday. Are they able to get your girls ready for competition before the season actually starts? And, how beneficial was that for you guys, and how do you feel that went for you?
The mock meet was very good for us. I feel like the girls under pressure, our saying this year is pressure is a privilege. So that's something that we're really sticking to. And yesterday kind of proved that for us. The girls need to be able to hit things under pressure. That's where consistency comes into play. I'm big on consistency and reps and everything. So yesterday, just kind of seeing where we stand and how this week's going to play out with practice plan and everything moving forward. But yesterday was nice to get in front of a crowd and everyone to be here and get excited for what's to come on Saturday.
And, looking into the season, you were head coach last year. It was your first year at Glenville. You had a year at Wesleyan as an interim head coach. How have those 2 years, shaped you coming up for this season? And what have you learned as a coach to be able to, make the team better this year?
Definitely learned a lot in my first season last year, just the way I handled situations and the way that we approach things moving forward. But definitely think that last year was a big part of teaching me how to run a program and how we're going to go about things. So excited with all of the new changes I've made this year and just implementing things and holding to a standard and bringing the team back to a good culture here.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And then you look into this week now, West Liberty, a team that you guys narrowly lost to last year. Just a preview to that, and what are your expectations there?
We have very high expectations going into Saturday, and I will say that that's one thing that's weighing heavy, I think, on the team is just that expectation of what's to come, but we're kind of trying to throw that out the door. I know 0.6 is going to be stuck in their head forever. That's partly my fault. I keep reiterating that, but that's something that we don't want to happen again. We don't want to lose by 0.6. We obviously don't want to lose, but definitely a very solid team that West Liberty has. So it'll be a good competition and a good first meet out the gate, but high expectations and really just implementing the have fun and do what we know how to do.
And for a sport that hasn't been around that long, what can you say about just to get people to come in to enjoy the sport? Because I don't think people really realize until you actually see it, how fun it can be to watch and how athletic these athletes are. Just what could you say for someone that doesn't really know about the sport to be able to get them into it?
It's definitely a fast-paced sport. That's something like I come from a gymnastics background, and that's a meet that you'll sit at and watch someone compete for like 2 minutes, and you're there for 4.5 hours. So coming to acro, it's definitely a fast-paced event where there's someone on the mat at all times except for halftime, which is 15 minutes. Definitely, I will say the strongest team on campus. I know I'm a little biased about that, but they're extremely talented athletes, and they put in a lot of work, and there's always something exciting happening down there on the mat.
And I 100% agree with that, Coach. Just want to say, good luck this weekend, and appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.